Hello, welcome to the Horror of It All Movie Podcast. I'm Eric. This time I'm finally going to be doing my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987. Now, if you're new to this or you're seeing this video before you see any of the other ones, I have a whole folder on my channel of every year in the 1980s that I've done. I've done 80 through 86 already. This is 1987, and I plan to do the rest of the decade as well, 88, 89. After this video. They are a bit spanned out because I do a lot of other things like unboxings and rankings and things like that. But I figure there's really nothing else that goes with this, so I'll just dive right into it. My number 10 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987 is Peter Jackson's Bad Taste. Now, I can't wait until this gets a HD release, or hell, even 4K. You might as well go that route, right? Because us horror fans or fans of Peter Jackson have been hearing for a few years that he has been doing restorations on his old stuff. So hopefully, if you're unfamiliar with Bad Taste, you may be familiar with Peter Jackson without even realizing it. Later on in his career, he did like the Lord of the Rings movies and things like that. Well, he started in New Zealand horror. And this is horror, but it's also ridiculousness, and it's a lot of fun. It's basically about these... well, I'll just read the first line and it'll give you the gist. When an army of evil aliens invades Earth with the intention of selling mankind as burger meat, a New Zealand government calls in an elite team of psychotic assassins, and amazingness ensues. He also did Dead Alive, and he's supposed to be doing that one too. I don't even think I have that on a Blu-ray. I don't know if any of his has been on Blu-ray, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I also have had this on Laserdisc, but I remember the cover being the censored one where he's not giving the finger. But yeah, this DVD still actually looks pretty good. It's an old Anchor Bay DVD from 2001, so it's 21 years old. There's nothing on here for special features except... back then, that was a special feature, a theatrical trailer, and a Peter Jackson bio. Don't get too excited when I say that. Back then, all it really was is... I mean, it's on the screen almost like IMDb, but it's the same idea. But yeah, this is batshit crazy. Super, super violent. The effects are great. Yeah, so... my number 10, Bad Taste. My number 9. Oh, before I go in any farther, I did want to say that when going about this for 1987, as well as some other years, but it seems like a big part of 1987 is a lot of obscure shit, like more obscure shit. Like, some people that are watching this, it's probably not that obscure to them, like me. I dive deep into horror, but when you first start into horror, it's, you know, there's some of that in here too. The more known ones, but between most of these and my honorable mentions, there's a lot of obscure shit. So, this one to me was obscure when I discovered it. I don't know how obscure it really is, but I really liked it. My number 9, Dead of Winter. I had this on DVD for a long time, and then Scream Factory put it out. Basically what it is it stars Mary Steenburgen and Roddy McDowall. When struggling actress is offered the opportunity to replace an actress who has suffered an emotional breakdown during a film shoot, she jumps at the chance for the role of a lifetime. Arriving at the filming location, an isolated mansion in upstate New York, and getting to know two mysterious benefactors, Dr. Lewis and Mr. Murray. That's who is played by Roddy McDowall. She begins to suspect that there's more to the story, and she can't quite put her finger on it. As the pieces fall into place and the weather outside turns frightful. Good one. Because it's winter. Katie's quest for stardom becomes a fright for survival in this twisty thriller from the director of Bonnie and Clyde. This Blu-ray may be out of print. I know Scream Factory puts shit out of print a lot. But it does have an interview with Mary Steenburgen. This is one of those movies, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I've mentioned it a few times, has a very, like, I always say claustrophobic, but I don't know what to call it. It's like that trapped feeling where you can't leave, like going to a house in the middle of nowhere, and there you try to leave, but you don't know where to go, or you're being held captive and things like that. Just the feeling of you can't leave. Excuse me. Has always got to me. Like, what's that movie called? I'll think of it. But yeah, my number 9, Dead of Winter. I highly recommend this movie. It's more of a suspenseful fright type movie. It's not full on horror, but man, this one didn't have a reverse or anything, but that's the inside. Unhinged, that was the movie. I really hope somebody finds a print of this, because from what I understand, I could be wrong, but I swear to God I heard David Gregory talking about this on one of the older Severin podcasts, that basically it seems like, I don't know if he said these words, but it seems like he has the rights for Unhinged, which is another video nasty, by the way, but no materials. So I really hope someday he finds them, because I fucking love that movie. I have a DVD from 20 years ago. That's all that's ever been released since, like, VHS days. But anyway, off on a tangent like I usually do. Dead of Winter, number 9 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987. All right. My next one is, it seems to be a mixed bag with some people. I've always liked it. I have it on VHS as well. And it's Scared Stiff. Arrow put this out a few years ago. This was like an exclusive slipcover. That's the other artwork. And that is, I believe, the original artwork. Sorry about the glare. And this one came with a book and stuff. I don't think you can get any of that anymore, but I'm just gonna tell you about Scared Stiff. Keller plays Kate Christopher, a singer, moves into an old colonial mansion with her son and psychologist boyfriend David. But when they make a strange and gruesome discovery in a boarded-up attic, it soon becomes clear that the mansion carries with it a dark and blood-stained past, and one that is about to terrorize them in the present. It is directed by Richard Friedman, who also did Doom Asylum and Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, also both released by Arrow. Out of the 3, this is my favorite. But I just watched it again recently to kind of get myself more, I don't know what to call it, familiar. But yeah, Scared Stiff I thought was a lot of fun. It's horror, it's a ghost story, it's family in peril type movie. I don't know about the back of this slip personally, but I mean, it does go with the like backstory and stuff. So, but Scared Stiff, number 8 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987. All right, I'm trying not to show these until I say them. This is another one that is not a favorite of people in the VSAs. It was one of the early ones. It's number 2, and for some people that are super into that, I already know what I'm talking about. I really enjoyed this movie, okay? Evil in the Night, I believe it's called, was supposedly like a version of this movie that ended up getting completed before this movie. But just the whole concept of it, I I really like. It's fucking creepy, but I'm talking about Evil Town. It's a VSA. I will go in more depth into this when I do my ranking of my VSAs, which should be coming up soon. I got to cut off somewhere because they do put them out enough. It's not every month, but I kind of got to stop at some point because I keep saying, like, oh, well, I got to watch these or I got to watch these, and then I get new ones, and then so on and so on. So I got to cut off somewhere. They're up to 25 now. Maybe I can just finish the couple more that I haven't watched. But yeah, like I said, I'll go more into this in my VSA ranking, but I really like Evil Town. It's basically, as you can tell from this, is basically about this town of elderly people who basically trap and kill, or try to, young people to... It's been a little while. Basically keep them young or keep them going, you know, and keep them alive. Like, that concept has always been fucking freaky to me. But Evil Town, number 7 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987. As you can see, so far, it's pretty obscure. I mean, maybe not bad taste, but the average horror fan may not know much about it. But the next one I have talked about before, and so I won't go too much into it. It was actually in my Severin top, what was it? What did I do? 25, I think? Yeah, I think so. I can't even remember. It's late when I'm doing this. But yeah, this version is from 88 Films, so I figured I'd show a different one. Lucio Fulci's Enigma. Later Day Fulci. Not everybody's a huge fan. This release is really cool. It's older, and I think you can still get it. I think. Even if you have the Severin one. This comes with a 77-minute documentary called Enigma, Fulci and the 80s. A full-length documentary looking at the twilight period of Lucio Fulci. And as I said, I've talked about this before, but when a group of popular kids at St. Mary's College play a cruel prank on an unattractive school weirdo, what a way to say it, Kathy, they leave the poor girl in a permanent coma. When a beautiful new girl, Eve, arrives at the school, she's given Kathy's old room, and it isn't long before strange occurrences are afoot and bodies are piling up. Kathy has possessed Eva and is using her as a pawn in her quest for bloody revenge. As I mentioned on the other one, there's an infamous snail scene. I don't know how a bunch of snails are going to kill you, but it's something else. It's nothing you've ever seen before. This one is B. I don't remember if it's actually B, but it says B. I haven't watched this version in a while. But yeah. Enigma. I like all-time Fulci. As I've also said on the channel before, I will say probably the obvious would be like late 70s into the early 80s are probably my favorite stuff, but I like all over stuff, man. I even love Door into Silence. I'm a huge fan of that movie. A lot of people aren't, and I really would like them to re-put that out because Severin put it out on a DVD a long time ago. So that would be great if maybe they still had it and they could put it out in HD. But maybe it didn't sell. I don't know. But my number 6 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987, Lucio Fulci's Enigma. Which I know I talk a lot about ideas, and just keep in mind, take it with a grain of salt sometimes, unless I say I'm definitely doing that. This I am definitely doing. I don't know when. I've had the list for a long time, so I probably could do it really whenever. I have a ranking of Lucio Fulci's horror movies. I do my ranking of all of his horror movies. Like, keep things separate. honorable mention are going to be a few that aren't horror, but I think I'll do that at some point soon. Well, I am already in the top 5. My number 5 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987. I'm talking about Street Trash. Another one that is, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not. This is definitely a bonkers movie. If you got to categorize it in anything, it is horror. I believe it's a horror movie. It's kind of dingy and disgusting, and you want to take a shower for different reasons than, say, a Last House on the Left type of thing. But Joe Bob showed this on a previous season. I highly enjoyed it, but I'm a huge fan of Street Trash. But anyway, the gist of the movie, if you're not familiar with it, it is about like these winos and homeless people. Some of them live in a junkyard, and there's a liquor store nearby, and the guy finds this old box of this old liquor that says Viper on it. So he puts it out for $1. Unbeknownst to him, well, as you can see on the cover, if you drink it, you melt. And it's a very colorful movie. It's very disgusting. There's an infamous scene where they play football with somebody's severed dick. So if all those things haven't put you off yet, and you haven't seen that Street Trash, and you're like, that sounds amazing, fucking check it out. This is a Synapse release. Yeah, go check it. If it's still on Shudder, I can't. I'm not sure if it is, but if it is, you can either watch it with Joe Bob or just watch it, or find the Blu-ray. I think you can still get this. It comes with a full-length documentary called Meltdown Memories. Let's see. Rare footage and interviews of cast and crew. Original Street Trash 16mm short film, which was interesting. If I ever saw that short film beforehand, I'm like, man, I hope they make a full length of that. The release also came with a sticker that, if you really wanted to put it on a bottle of liquor, you could, for like decoration or a collector thing. But yeah, my number 5 in my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987, Street Trash. I'm zooming through these. Guess it's because I don't really have to go into that much detail with some of them, but my number 4 is a Arrow release that I never saw until they released it, because I guess it was one of those lost movies, and I've heard people like Joe Bob even also talk about it, like, how are films lost and just found? It just happens. It's just how it is, you know? But my number 4 is Blood Rage. Blood Rage is a lot of fun. I watch it every Thanksgiving. One of the main lines in there, as well as they made it like a tagline, this Thanksgiving. It's not cranberry sauce. Basically, it's about these two twin boys. When they're younger, I'd say, I can't remember how old they are. I don't know if it says on here. It does not. But they're younger. I'm going to say 10, 11, maybe younger. Yeah, probably younger than 11. But anyway, the movie starts with the backstory of they're at a drive-in. And the mother's, the father's trying to, do shit with her and everything. So the kids kind of leave the car. And one of them ends up seeing these other couple. I don't remember if they're having sex or they're about to, but he doesn't like it. It's one of those classic, like, slasher things where, whatever reason, they're scarred because of this. And the boy kills him. And in the process, basically just wipes blood on the other brother's face and says, oh no, look what he did. And the boy that didn't do anything, was just standing there watching his brother in horror, ends up going to insane asylum until he's, I'm going to guess 18? It's just 10 years later anyway, so maybe they were younger than that. I'm messing up ages, I can't remember that. But Shot in 1983 and not released until 1987. Twins Todd and Terry seem like sweet brothers, that is, until one of them takes an axe to the face of a fellow patron at a local drive-in. And then 10 years later, he ends up escaping. And for whatever reason, the killings start up again. And I can't remember which name was which. I apologize. But the brother that originally killed them goes on a killing spree again, just so he can be like, oh my god, look what he did, kind of thing, you know. Some of the kills in it are fucking awesome. The mother's boyfriend that gets killed is really good. I think that's his hand, I believe. Yeah. But this is a great release. Comes with multiple versions of the movie and a book. I don't think you can get all this anymore. This is a good example of how fucked up his death is. But yeah. Most people today, like younger, may or may not know what I'm talking about, but the mother is played by Louise Lesser, who was Mary Hartman, an older TV show. But yeah. Oh, and gruesome effects done by Ed French, who also did Terminator 2. And truly gruesome effects. But yeah, that's not cranberry sauce is a thing where I think he's just that crazy that he doesn't even think he's doing anything wrong when he's killing these people and he gets blood on him and he's like, that's not cranberry sauce. The ending is, I don't know how to say it, heart-shattering. I don't know. It's a very emotional ending, but Blood Rage, number 4, my top 10 favorite horror movies in 1987. Highly recommend it. If you can find it, go check it out. Also could be still on Shudder. I don't know. I should be more prepared for these things and check it. I don't have a streaming brain. I watch streaming stuff, obviously, because I talk about Joe Bob and stuff, but I'm a physical media guy. If I have the choice, I'm going to watch it physically, but I think you can still get that. Maybe not with all the bells and whistles, so to speak, but all right, we are in number 3. Number 3 already. So I will do 3 and 2, and then I will do my honorable mentions, and then my number 1, and then I'll call it an episode. My number 3, 2 and 1 are going to be ones that aren't as obscure, I would say. But number 3, Evil Dead 2. What else? What can be said about Evil Dead 2? It's one of the craziest, most bonker fucking movies ever. Even as a kid, it was bonkers, it was funny, but yet it still was kind of scary, like in a weird way. Like maybe just me, but this Blu-ray is a cheap Blu-ray that you can still get, the 25th anniversary edition, but it is stacked with special features. I mean, yeah, it's all crammed on one disc, but I mean, Evil Dead. If you're familiar with Ash, there was a show. There's 3 movies. You know, there's a remake. But Evil Dead 2 is Evil Dead 2, and I'm glad I thought of this. This is how I perceive it, and I've seen interviews with him and stuff, but I've also heard both ways. A lot of people assume that Evil Dead 2 is just basically a remake of Evil Dead 1, and Sam Raimi had more money for it, so he wanted to redo the movie. I don't see that case. Because a lot of people are like, well, why would he go back there? If you pay attention at the beginning, he didn't go back there. It's just a backstory, and to save time, it was just him and his girlfriend as opposed to other characters. Because when it does that zoom in at the end of Evil Dead, right into his face, like, credits roll. This does the backstory, and then he's possessed. And that's the beginning of Evil Dead 2. I don't find this a remake. This is definitely a sequel to me. And it's my favorite of the Evil Dead movies. A lot of people say Army of Darkness. My brother says Army of Darkness. I like Army of Darkness a lot, but it would be my least favorite of the 3, to be honest with you. But Evil Dead 2 is my shit. I've liked this for as long as I can remember watching horror movies or movies in general. Yeah, but I've had this on pretty much every format. I've never had beta that I can think of. So I did start with VHS and Laserdisc and DVD and Blu-ray. This is the best version I've ever had. It's not even deluxe, really, but with all the special features, it kind of is. Like, there's a lot of shit on here, man. Dead by Dawn, filmmakers reflect on the long journey of the sequel. The Chosen One, interview with Bruce Campbell, and Ted Raimi, and Sarah Berry, and Danny Hicks. It just goes on and on and on and on. Bunch of interviews. Dead Effects with Mark Shostrom, Greg Nicotero, Howard Berger, Robert Kurtzman, Shannon Shea, and others. Reanimated with the animators. It's fucking Evil Dead 2. That's, I mean, if you like bonkers shit, if you haven't seen Evil Dead 2, if you're new to horror, check out Evil Dead 2. I believe Evil Dead was in one of my other top 10 favorites of different years in the 1980s. What that come out? 82, I believe? I can't think off the top of my head, but if you like bonkers shit, and you don't mind your horror a little silly, Evil Dead 2, if you haven't seen it. Again, another director that went on to huge things, but this is what's huge for me. Like, this type of shit. Like I mentioned with Peter Jackson going on to, like, Lord of the Rings. Sam Raimi, if you don't know, went on to, like, Spider-Man, and he just did the new Doctor Strange movie. But this is my shit with him. This is mine. But my number 2, I have a few things for this. Couple of versions, and then a cool vinyl I want to show. My number 2 is ironically another sequel, but another number 2. Creepshow 2. The Arrow one is the best one, but the 88 Films one is pretty good. I think it has other things on it. I feel like, yeah, let's see, Tales from the Creep. I feel like that one isn't on this one. I don't see it. But yeah. Creepshow 2. I know sometimes it gets foreshadowed by the first one, and I like the first one the best. I will admit that. I am one of the people that has seen 3. Has nothing to do with any of the people that did these. It was just done, and if you like it, you like it, cool. I think it's terrible, but that's just my opinion. But Creepshow 2 is great. I love Creepshow 2. It's a shame it ran out of money, because it was supposed to be just as long as Creepshow. It was supposed to have 4 stories, but this one ended up, in my opinion, with 3 pretty solid stories. The Old Chief Woodenhead. You know what? I'm even gonna read it in case people aren't sure. But I mean, it's George Romero, so if you know horror, but who knows? You know. In Old Chief Woodenhead, a group of young hoodlums face retribution from an unlikely source after looting a local hardware store. Some of that really sucks to, like, watch. Like, George Kennedy and his wife, they murder them, and then Old Chief Woodenhead is this wooden statue that stands outside, and he becomes alive, and he fucking kills them. Good, they deserved it. Meanwhile, the Raft sees a group of horny teenagers wishing they'd read the warning signs first before taking a dip into the remote lake. I always say that's my favorite one, and if I just have to be like, what's your favorite one? I'll probably still say The Raft, but honestly, it's getting harder and harder the more times I see it, because I really feel like all 3 of these stories are pretty fucking solid. And, I mean, the only thing that is different, like, is George Romero did not direct this one, but he did write the screenplay based on the stories from Stephen King. So it's still a collaboration with George Romero and Stephen King, unlike Part 3. And finally, an uptight businesswoman finds herself with an unwanted company following a hit-and-run incident in The Hitchhiker. Thanks for the ride, lady! That gets stuck in your head, but it's almost turns into a comedic thing, even though it is not on the movie, I don't think. It's basically, it's about this woman that, kind of karma, she cheats on her husband, and as she's coming home, she accidentally hits this person, she thinks, and the more times, he just keeps coming back, and then she hits him again, and then and he just keeps getting bloodier and more fucked up, and more fucked up. But yeah, I won't say anything else. I love Creepshow 2. I think pretty damn close. Like, if there was one more story on here that's as solid as these three, I would probably like it equal to Creepshow 1. Creepshow 1 is one of the greatest movies of all time, and I mean, in my opinion, and George Romero is in my top, 3 favorite directors? Like, maybe even 2? Like, it's hard. He might even be my favorite. Like, it's hard to narrow that type of shit down. But it's what I do. I do rankings. So, but it's Creepshow 2, man. Retaining the same EC comic book flavor that made the original such a hit, Creepshow 2, this time directed by longtime Romero collaborator Michael Gornick, is a standout horror anthology from the minds of 2 of the genre's master craftsmen. There is what was, I guess, supposed to be the 4th story in comic book form. I don't know how solid the story would have been, but it was an interesting one. It was called Pinfall. It was basically about this bowling league, and one of them loses, something like that, and then gets pissed off and like kills the other one, and then they end up coming back for revenge. But yeah, there's an audio commentary by the director. Nightmares of Foam Rubber. That's an archive featurette on the special effects of Creepshow 2, including Howard Berger and Greg Nicotero. My friend Rick Berger on the special effects, his special effects mentor, Rick Baker. And then there's the usual stuff like behind the scenes footage and reversible sleeve and a collector's book. But again, I'm pretty sure this is out of print, but this is the alternate. It's very red. Very red. But the picture's still the same. Another one I've had on every fucking format. I've worn out VHS tape before because I love Creepshow 2 so much. Like I said, it sometimes gets foreshadowed by the first one, and I get it. But yeah, there's definitely... this one includes an interview with George Romero. Yeah. If you can still get this one, I say get both. I know you're not going to get it with all the deluxe unless you go the eBay route, but... and then this one wouldn't have the slipcase, but... they're both really good releases. So, yeah. Well then... Actually, before I do that, I like that artwork. It shows the 3 stories in the little bubble. But yeah, if you're familiar with Creepshow, maybe you haven't seen Creepshow 2. I highly recommend it. I think it's underrated. I really do. But this is also when, I know I'm sure it costs more, but Arrow would print on the box. I much prefer that than the fucking J card or whatever they're called. Even though I do keep those, if there's not really cool art underneath it, I'll tape it, but I much prefer it on there. But yeah, I could talk about Creepshow 2 forever, but my number 2 favorite horror movie of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987, Creepshow 2. As a matter of fact, I haven't watched it in a while. I think I'll watch it again very soon. Before I do that, oh yeah, I wanted to show this. This is the score. Check that shit out. This is also out of print, unfortunately, but if you're really into it and want to find it, I'll even open it and show you. Well, I don't have to open it. It's just, it's in one of those bags. Like the... But it's so cool. So cool. There's a little thing here. Little blurb about, like, the liner notes from the composer, I believe. But, yeah, there's that. I know a lot of people like to see this. Some people don't even open these, and that's crazy to me. I know it's worth more money, but I didn't buy it for money. It's like The Raft. Check that shit out. Isn't that awesome? So cool. Sorry about the glare. Getting a glare of me on the computer screen. I'm so glad I finally did 1987, and I really don't want to wait that long to do 1988. But hey, shit happens, and I do other videos, and I do them when I can. And then there is a second vinyl. There's that. The voodoo doll. Oh, and the wraparound's cool too, because it's like animated, and it's about this kid with this bully and this Venus flytrap, and it's not really giving anything away in the movie, but you can probably understand what happens from there. This one's also like The Raft. It's like basically like an oil slick that eats people in this lake that they weren't supposed to be there anyway. No swimming, but they couldn't see the sign. I know I went into super detail on on these, but it's Creepshow 2, man, and I fucking love Creepshow 2. But yeah, just wanted to show those real quick, something different, you know. I realized I had extra stuff for these movies, so yeah. Alright, so before I tell you my number one, my favorite horror movie of 1987, I have a few honorable mentions that I won't dive too deep into, but I will tell a little bit about. This is a double feature, and I'm not talking about TerrorVision, because TerrorVision was 1986, but 1987, The Video Dead. If you're not familiar with that, it's another kind of more obscure one. I'll read a little bit of the synopsis on here. On a quiet, tree-lined street, evil has arrived in the most ordinary way. An old television. It receives a single channel on that not only one shows the same film over and over. A horror film where zombies rise from their graves to kill, but also freeze the gnarled evil monsters, and once out, they're not going back. They like the real world. They've already killed 5 people and want more blood, and a new family is moving into the neighborhood. If I remember right, it's pretty low budget, but the artwork's really cool. I have that on a shirt. But yeah, again, I apologize. I don't know if you can still get this. Screen Factory pushed it out of print a lot. But hey, sometimes when they put shit out of print, like they did with Schizoid and X-Ray, which I fucking love it. I'm a huge X-Ray fan. They did it on a DVD, a Blu-ray that really had nothing really on it. So Vinegar Syndrome made it 4K and did special features and stuff, which was awesome. And then I watched Schizoid, and I'm like, I don't even remember watching this, which was weird. But I liked it. But anyway. Speaking of Vinegar Syndrome, this movie I saw recently when it came out. Sister Sister. I highly recommend this one. You don't really hear people talking about it. I personally loved it. It stars Jennifer Jason Leigh and Eric Stoltz. It's got an interesting, like, eerie backstory to it, and combining gothic atmosphere, touches of magical realism, and elements of violent murder mystery. That's all I'm going to say. Sister Sister. Highly recommend it. Not a lot of people talk about this, and they should be. In my opinion, of course. And Vinegar Syndrome adjacent. I have both versions of this. I have the super rare one that is out of print, but this one is way better. Ironically, TerrorVision, as I said, TerrorVision isn't one of my honorable mentions because that's for 86, but Killing Spree. The infamous movie that even magazines like Horror Hound, I've heard, has said, because I read Horror Hound, but I don't remember this exactly, but there's so much shit, that this was a shot-on-video movie. It's not shot-on-video. I believe it says that this is really red and really hard to see. I just forgot about. A brand new upscale transfer from the original 1987 1-inch video negative transfer. As I just said, it wasn't shot on video, but it wasn't. I believe it was 16 dumped onto tape. If you're wondering why people do that, I'm not exactly sure either. I'm still, not new to that world, but new learning things about it because I am a shot-on-video fan. This is one of the greatest movies that people think is shot on video, but is not. And even if it was, it'd be right up there. I fucking love Killing Spree. They're all dead. Or are they? This one I will read really quick. Comes with a card here with some of their vinyl. This is the alternate artwork. I love this artwork, but it's just so goddamn red. I gotta take that here. Sorry about that. Newlywed Tom suspects his hot wife Lisa is having sexual encounters with their suburban neighbors and visitors. Tom retaliates by launching into a methodical and inventive campaign to murder the lovers, utilizing such unexpected devices as a killer ceiling fan, a TV set, an ordinary screwdriver, a hammer, and a lawnmower. But Tom's victims don't lie buried peacefully in the backyard. They're back from the dead for revenge. Love this movie. Another one I highly recommend of the partner labels. It's cool because it also has to do with who is it? Brad Henderson from Vinegar Syndrome. It is stacked. Oh shit! Sorry, with special features. But he partnered with another guy. I can't remember name wise, but I guess that doesn't. That usually did vinyls, and he kind of went on the movie side of it and became a partner label, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, anyway, Killing Spree, so close to being on my top 10. All right, gotta mention House 2. House 2 is really fun. I like House 2 just as much as House 1. House 3, a little different. House 4, really different. I love all of them. I have the complete box, which is a mixture, I guess, of... They couldn't do, like, 3 and 4 in America or something like that because of the A and B stuff. I don't remember. But it's House 2. If you don't know much about House 2, they're kind of... I guess... I don't want to say family-friendly horror movies, but they're not as abrasive as, say, Killing Spree. I introduced these to my son years ago, and he really liked them. The first house sees young Jesse moving into an old family property where the parents were mysteriously murdered years before. Joined by pal Charlie, the pair soon find themselves and some unexpected guests in the form of Jesse's mummified great-grandfather, a mystical crystal skull, and a zombie cowboy who will stop at nothing to lay his hands on it. Yeah. House 2, definitely, for sure. This is in the box set. Even if you haven't seen these movies, that might look a little infamous. Maybe the first one's a little bit more... like one of those, like you've seen the art but haven't seen the movie because it's the ding dong you're dead thing, and it's a finger but there's no skin on the but maybe for some this could be a little bit whatever. But if you're big into horror, I wouldn't say it's too crazy, really. But yeah, Produced by Sean S. Cunningham, which I think did all of them. But yeah, House 2. Alright, I got 2 more. This year 1987 didn't have a lot of Italian in my top, whatever. But other than really Enigma, I think, right? But Stage Fright. This is a really good Blu-ray from Exposure Cinema. I honestly don't have a lot of stuff from them, if not just this. This is B. But I don't know if anybody else has put this out, to be honest with you. Maybe Synapse? But this is the one I have. It's an older one. Comes with the DVD. It comes with the book that says Video Chillers on it and talks about the... it's basically about this theater company, not company, like, kind of, and they're in the process of doing, like, a play, and it's one of those, like, it's almost like a giallo, I guess, where there's the killer in an owl head, and you don't know who he is. Could he be one of them? You know, could he not? But Mikhail Suave is in it, I believe. He's not listed, but I swear I remember him in this. Or was it because he directed it? He directed it. Stage Fright. A little bit more obscure of Italian horror, but check it out. It's pretty good. And last but definitely not least, I mentioned it a little bit earlier with Scared Stiff. Scared Stiff is my favorite movie of this director, but Richard Friedman, who also did Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. I actually haven't dived into that. We'll see how it goes. I've seen it before, but so I'm sure it'll go fine. Anyway, Doom Asylum. This shit is off the wall fucking crazy. Not necessarily Evil Dead bonkers or anything, but it's pretty. It has its silly moments, but the kills are fucking brutal. So, Doom Asylum. I also watched this with my oldest son a couple of years ago, and we had a fun time with it. It was a very silly watch, but it's one of those movies that, believe it or not, like maybe the first time you might find certain things silly, but as it goes, the more times you watch it, it seems to get a little bit more serious. I don't know, maybe because I'm already ready for it. I do that with movies sometimes. I don't know why, but Doom Asylum, my last honorable mention for 1987. My number 1 is my favorite sequel of this franchise. Yes, I'm in that bracket. I've never been the guy that automatically feels that you got to say it's the first one. It's the first one, you know? I mean, there wouldn't be other ones if it wasn't for the first. I know all this. I understand that. But my favorite is my favorite, you know? And I'm talking about, even though I could have dug out my DVD, but I decided not to. Wasn't as easy access because I did put away some of my DVDs. I'm talking about Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. Love the song, love the movie. Patricia Arquette is so great in it. Nancy from the first one comes back. Part 3 is basically about these group of kids who nobody's believing, and they don't want to sleep because they'll die, and they're all talking about Freddy and this and that, and nobody believes them, but Nancy believes them because she ends up coming back to town and she hears about this. John Saxon is in this one as well as her dad, reprises the role. And for some it may get a little silly, where they have special powers in their dreams, and you know what? Some people do kind of feel that way, like you have certain things you only can do in your dreams. I may sound crazy, but I can fly in my dreams. I don't know, it's a dream. But they have almost like superhero powers to try to defeat Freddy, and that's all I'll say about that. But I am a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I wouldn't say Freddy's my favorite slasher. Jason is, as people may know. Freddy is number 3 favorite slasher. Number 2 being Michael Myers. But I'm also a different one with Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, it's your opinion. You know, it's okay. I love these people in groups that are like, no, you're wrong. Why am I wrong? Because I like this and you like that. Like, that's okay. That's part of being a fan. And again, I'm not gonna automatically go with the first one just because. If it in fact is my favorite in a certain franchise, then there you go. But it's not because it's the first one. If that makes sense. Some people may be like, whatever, dude. But that's your prerogative too. I love all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Yes, I even love 2. The documentary about it is really good. Which actually, let me grab that. If people aren't familiar with that, I wasn't prepared for this one. Where are you? Yeah. Sorry about that. Screen Queen. It's one of the partner labels. I think you can still get it with the slip. If you're interested. It's basically a documentary, and Mark Patton was one of the producers who played Jesse in part 2. But yeah, pretty good. But yeah, anyway, I like all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, really, and a lot of my favorites are, well, part 3 is my favorite, but I've always loved Freddy's Dead. I know, crazy too. I played it for my wife again when we were rewatching them, and she was like, you know what? I agree. It's up there. It might even be your favorite one. I know, crazy. The only one I will say that doesn't have to do with these is the remake. I am not a fan of the remake. And that's rare for me. I'm usually find something good in a movie, even if I'm just like, it was a movie. It was okay. It was, you know, it was good for what it was. I love these movies. Not a fan of that. Anyway, so yeah, that was my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1987. Coming up should be more unboxings. I haven't got my partner labels, from partner label month with Vinegar Syndrome yet, or my mid-year sale with Severin, so I will have that stuff coming up. But yeah. So check out those. Check out those when they come out. Like and subscribe if you would like. That would be great. It helps me out. Even share. That would be cool. I usually try to share them within the groups and on my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Check out my Letterboxd. It's listed in my, I can't remember the exact, it's either The Horror Guy 1983 or Horror Guy 1983. It's listed in my information on my channel. If you want to check that out too, and follow me on there. So yeah, and check out my, this channel started with podcasts with my buddy Adam. I haven't done that in a long time. We live on different sides of the country, so it hasn't lined up again. He's super busy with life, and it happens. But I decided to be like, you know what? I'm just going to start doing videos because I have fun with that. So occasionally I'll have a podcast. There are a couple that I'm going to be doing with my wife at some point when we can find time for that. She's also a guest on the Friday the 13th franchise ranking. Check that out on my channel. That was a lot of fun. Also on there's going to be ones that are going to be taboo or whatever that people might, disagree with, and that's fine. Again, it's your opinion. It's cool. Like, you be you. And I have other unboxings and rankings, a ton of Vinegar Syndrome stuff. As I said before, check out my 1980, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, and 86 top 10s from each one of those years. 88 and 89 will be out at some point. I will do them when I can, and from there I haven't decided. I've mentioned it before. I have definitely plenty of other ranking ideas, like I said with Lucio Fulci's horror movie ranking, which will be sometime in the future. I might do some rankings on 1990s stuff. I know some people aren't huge into the 90s, and my favorite decades for horror is 70s and 80s, but I like movies from all time. So things might be mixed a little bit in there that aren't horror. There's one podcast I talked about with my wife that if we do that, it's not going to be horror, but we'll talk about some of our favorite two different particular actors that did movies together. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Well, if you're still here, thank you for watching the whole video. Sometimes I bumble a little bit. Other videos come out better than other videos, but that's the nature of the beast. Be it because of me or whatever. But this one seemed pretty good. I hope it come out good. And yeah. So this has been the Horror of It All Movie Podcast. I'm Eric. Until next time.